and little up.
Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Today we are very fortunate to have Swami Vimokshanandaji Maharaj. Swami Vimakshinanji Maharaj is a senior monk of our Ramakrishna order. He was initiated into Mantra Diksha Nirvedananji Maharaj, Nirvanananji Maharaj in 1971. He took his monastic vows in 1981 from Swami Vireshwarananji Maharaj. During his monastic training, he worked extensively in the cyclone affected areas of Andhra Pradesh. From 1979 to 1986, he assisted in building up a new Ramakrishna Mission Hospital in Arunachal Pradesh. Swami Vimakshananji has held various leadership positions in the Ramakrishna Mission centers such as the Alang High School, Kolkata Mission Hospital. He was instrumental in reviving the 150-bedded TB Sanatorium, Ranchi. From 2007 to 2014, he was the president of Ramakrishna Center of South Africa. From 2015 to 2018, he was the president of the Singapore Ramakrishna Mission. He worked as a minister in charge of the Vedanta Society in Dublin, Ireland, and after his return from abroad, now Swamiji is going to head the Ramakrishna Math, Yelagiri Hills, Tamil Nadu. Swamiji, today he is here. We welcome him heartily. Welcome Swamiji. And then this week and next week, today is the first part. Swamiji is going to give his discourse. And next week also Swamiji is taking. Thank you very much, Swamiji. You are all welcome.
Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Hari Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishnaya. Dear monks and dear Brahmachari brothers and dear devotees, it gives me great joy to be in Bengaluru Ashramam for a few days. I have been staying here and getting all the love, care and attention from everyone. It seems to be a very nice experience. Here, Holy Mother herself had come. She stayed for 3 days in that room where we go and make pranam. So naturally, everyone has got that motherly aspect in his or her personality. So whoever I meet, everyone is so wonderful here. So the topic that has been allotted to me is Vedantic devotion. But before going into the topic, I was thinking about yesterday's Chaitra Purnima, very important day for the Hindus. And it was the birthday of Sri Hanumanji also. So we always exchange greetings on such holy days because it is an auspicious day. So many greetings I received. Happy Hanuman Jayanti, like that. So, and when you think of Hanuman, naturally you have to think of his or Sri Ram's one of the greatest devotees, Sri Tulsidas. Tulsidas, if you think of, then you can think of Ram and Hanuman together. As you all know, Tulsidas was a great devotee of Sri Ramchandra, and he could talk to Sri Ram just like Sri Ramakrishna used to talk to Mother Kali. So in Dakshineswar, we understand from the life of Sri Ramakrishna that Sri Ramakrishna used to think of Mother Kali, and Mother Kali is before him. Sometimes he would go and hold her hand, and then he would walk down, up and down the stairs. If you have seen Dakshineswar Kali temple, you will know there are steps there before the sanctum sanctorum, that is the Garbhagriha. So in those steps, he used to walk up and down with Mother Kali. And holding her hands, he used to dance. So much of intimacy with the mother. Likewise, Tulsidas had wonderful action and reaction with Bhagavan Sri Ram. So whenever Tulsidas would think of Bhagavan Sri Ram, and there is Sri Ram. So Ram would ask, "Hey, my devotee Tulsidas, what do you want?" So Tulsidas will tell him something, and he is very happy because Ram will do his work. One day, he thought of Sri Ram, and Ram came before him. So Tulsidas said, "Well, hey Prabhu, I am able to meet you at my will. Whenever I want, you are before me. But your Das, that is Sri Hanumanji, he never comes before my eyes. Actually, I want to meet him. I want to see him. But I am praying to him. I am begging him, hey Hanumanji, please come before me. But Hanumanji is not coming. So what I should do? Can you please tell him to come before me?" Because Tulsidas had this conviction, if Sri Ram orders Hanuman anything, Hanuman will definitely do. So he said, "Why don't you order him to come before me?" So Sri Ram said, "Okay, tathastu, it will be done. Tomorrow Hanuman will come in front of you." So everything over. The next day morning came, and in the morning, as usual, Tulsidas got up, went to that river, then had his darshan. After his river bath, he would come up on the banks, and then he would take the chandan cart, and then he would make chandan. Slowly he would make chandan, and the people who are coming in front of him, he would place the tilak on their forehead. And that is Tulsidas' duty every day. So on that day also, Tulsidas started having chandan in his hand, and without seeing who is coming in front of him, he was putting the tilak So one after another he has put. So all the people have left. Then Tulsidas raised his head and looked around. Now nobody is there. Then he immediately thought of Sri Ram. So Ram came before him. Then he asked, "Hey Prabhu, I told you I want to see Sri Ram today. You also said Ram will come in front of you, but I didn't see him." So Sri Ram smiled and said, "Well, you were so much concentrated in your seva that you didn't even recognize Hanumanji came in front of you, and you gave tilak also to him, but you didn't recognize him." Yes, Hanumanji came and went away. Now, this created a great sadness in the mind of Tulsidas. He thought, what an abhaga, that is, unfortunate man I am. Sri Hanumanji has come in front of me, but I could not realize that Hanumanji is here. So he was very, very sad, and he told Hanumanji in mind, "Hey Hanumanji, greatest mistake I have done, never it will happen. When you come, I will recognize and give me the power to recognize you." You know, if gods appear before us, we will not be able to remember it. We will not be able to recognize gods. That is what happens. When Swami Nityasanandaji was in Mysore, so I came to Mysore all the way from Muti. I am just telling you a small incident, how we are blind to God's presence. And I was sitting in a bus, and the bus came to Mysore. It stood just in front of the Maharajas at the palace, and all the passengers got down. And I didn't know whether I should get down or not. So I looked at the conductor. The conductor said, "Are you going to Ramakrishna Mission?" I said, "Yes." "Then sit. Next stoppage is the Ramakrishna Mission. So I will drop you there. So you don't need to walk all the way. After that, the bus will go to that somewhere, their stoppage." I said, "Okay." I was sitting. Even driver, conductor also are not there in the bus. And I was all alone. And just before I got into the bus, some devotees in Ooty had come to see me off. So they had given me some pranami. Somebody gave 10 rupees, somebody gave 50 rupees, somebody gave 5 rupees. So all the money, I put it in my pocket. And I was sitting there on the bus, on that, the first seat, conductor seat, I'm sitting and looking. Suddenly I saw one old lady entered. Maybe she was having 98 years or like that. Such old. Because from here to here and hands, feet, everywhere I could see her. All wrinkled skin. So much of wrinkles I have never seen in my life. First time I saw. And then she got into the bus slowly. In the steps she's getting up. And she's holding the hand on the holder. She's looking at me. And in Kannada she was asking me bhiksha. That is, she wanted something from me. How foolish I was. I had so much money in my pocket. I could have given the whole money to her. At that time I was very young. A brahmachari, you see. So I thought, in India, we should not allow the beggars anymore. Because we give begging to the people, that's why the beggars' numbers are increasing. Suppose we don't give anything to any beggar, then the begging will stop. That was my foolish idea at that time. So I thought, no, I will not give her. Because I have decided not to encourage begging. So I won't give. I looked at her and said like this. And immediately her face became so bad. It was so sad, and she got down. Then at that time it struck me, what if for whom I have come to Mysore to have darshan of Chamundeshwari, if she is there, and if she had come, and I am denying her what is due to her, and the money is hers only, not mine. So I might have been a big mistake I will be doing. So immediately I got down from the bus and searched and searched and searched everywhere. I couldn't see the old lady. Because the old lady cannot disappear, you see. unless she is a divine. So nowhere I could find. And the bus stand was quite empty. I could not see her. So when I reached ashram, I confided to our Nityanandaji Maharaj. He was my classmate in training center. So we used to have 2 years, we studied together. And he used to say, we are not only classmates, we are benchmates also. We used to sit in the same bench. So I went to him, his room, and then told, look, Shingeshwar Maharaj, this is what happened. I feel very bad. He said, don't worry. You take every day night upas. If you want, you can take a glass of milk. And 1 week after, I shall take you to Chamundeshwari Hills. So, the prayaschitta, if you have done a wrong thing, the prayaschitta is this. Like that he prescribed. So I was very happy. So I did the same thing. Then after 1 week, he took me to Chamundeshwari Hills. And there, what a wonderful, so beautiful, enchanting darshan of Chamundeshwari. On that day, Chamundeshwari was so beautifully decorated. And I saw to my heart's content, hey Devi, hey Mother, you see, you came to me and I could not, these eyes could not recognize you. That is what happened to Tulsidas. Hanumanji came in front of him, he could not understand, and he gave tilak to him, but Hanumanji went away. So how much sadness will be there? For me, so much of sadness means ordinary person. But for Tulsidas, a great saint, how much sadness he would be having. So he wept and wept and wept. And then he turned. He wanted to go to the top now. So the very first step, he put his foot. Immediately before his eyes, the doha came. Sri Guru Charana Saroja Raj Nijamana Mukura Sudhar. So it came. Second step, second doha. Third doha. Like that, there were 40 steps. In each step, he had one doga appearing before his eyes. And at the 40th step, he completed Hanuman Chalisa. That's why it is called Chalisa. Chalisa means Chalis. In Hindi, Chalis means 40. So 40 dohas are there. 40 steps were there. So he got into 40 steps and completed 40 shlokas, that is dohas, in Hindi. And that is Hanuman Chalisa. When he got into the 41st, which was a land, he saw Hanumanji standing there with his gada and smilingly. He said, come, my son, come, he said. So Tulsidas went and did Sashtanga Pranam to him. Hanumanji took him, embraced him. That's why the Tulsidas Hanuman Chalisa has become so popular. Because Tulsidas was embraced by Hanuman. So whatever Tulsidas wrote, that has got power, strength. So people read, I have seen in northern India, I was in Kanpur as well as Arunachal Pradesh, and later I was in Durban. In Durban, mostly our devotees are originally from North India. So I have seen them. Every month in Durban ashram, one Saturday, we used to repeat Hanuman Chalisa 11 times. 600 devotees would be singing in the prayer hall. That prayer hall is little bigger than our prayer hall here. So people used to come, sit there, and all together in chorus, we used to sing 11 times Hanuman Chalisa monthly once. And I have seen many devotees who do every day 11 times. And some devotees once a day they do. So this Hanuman Chalisa is such a powerful thing. Why powerful? Because of the strength of Hanuman. So Hanuman's strength, how it is? What is the strength of Hanuman? If you ask me, I would say I do not know. Because I cannot imagine. Nobody can imagine the strength of Hanuman. Even Tulsidas, who saw Hanuman so clear, so nearer to him, he could not write about Hanuman's strength. He says, Atulita Baladhamam. He is a Dhamma. Dhamma means repository, a container. That container has got the strength. What type of strength? Atulita. No comparison, no parallel. You cannot say this one is like this, Hanuman's strength is like this. You cannot compare. There cannot be any type of example for Hanuman's strength. So he wrote Atulita Baladhamam. And then he writes other characters of Hanuman he writes. So the first line it says Atulita. So one of his disciples, he was writing down when Tulsidas was telling. So after the full sloka was over, so the disciple asked Tulsidas, say, Guru, how is it you said Atulita if you don't give Tulna? Tulna means comparison. Atulita means no comparison. So if you don't give Tulna, if you don't give example, how we ordinary people can understand? Is it not? For everything, if you want to say, you must give some example. You find in Sri Ramakrishna's Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, for any idea, any type of tattva, when Sri Ramakrishna speaks, he will always add one example. Why he is giving example? So that we all ordinary people can understand. So this disciple asked, you simply say Atulita, that means no example. How I can understand? Then Tulsidas said, my dear boy, it is really Atulita, that's why I told Atulita. If I can compare it with something, then it doesn't become Atulita. So it becomes Tulana Yogya. So it is not Tulana Yogya. That's why I'm telling Atulita. But that boy was telling, no, you must tell me example. Like we say, Java Kusuma Sankasham. We say about Surya. When the Surya rises in the morning, you can see that. How beautiful. Java Kusuma Sankasham. Like a Java Kusuma, like the flower Java, that color, Surya is there. So when you are told, when a child is told, the color of sun, rising sun is like the color of the Java flower. So the boy understands. Now we can understand. So for everything you require some example. But Tulsidas has gone against that method. And he says, Atulita Baladhamam. So the boy asked, you must tell me example. Then Tulsidas waited. Okay, I will tell you step by step. You yourself tell me whether it is Atulita or not. The disciple was ready. Then Tulsidas said, the greatest Pahalwan, the gymnast in the village. Have you seen him? He said, yes. How many people he can beat alone? Then the boy said, he can beat nearly 10 people. If 10 people come against him, he can just beat them. Okay. Now, that type of person, suppose 10 Pahalwans come together. Then it is said, if the Devaloka horse, that white horse, which came up when the Samudra Manthan was being done, one white horse came up. So that horse can beat the 100 such people single-handedly. Now Tulsidas asked, can you now measure the strength of that Devaloka horse, Ashwa? He said, yes, I can understand now. The Devaloka horse can beat 100 such Pahalwans. Okay. Now Indra has got a Vahan, and that Vahan is called Airavat. It is an elephant. One Airavat elephant can beat hundreds of such horses. Now can you compare the power of that Airavat? Then the boy said, yes, I am able to grasp it. So that means the Airavat is so powerful, it can just drive away 100 such horses. Then he said, suppose not 100, 1,000 Airavats comes in front of Hanumanji. Hanumanji will only do with his small finger, the pinky finger. He will do like this. All the 1,000 elephants will die. Such is the power of Hanuman. Now you see from here the power only that much. And think of all the 10 fingers and the arms and his bhujas, that is shoulders, and his whole chest and whole thighs and feet. How much power is there? only this much can drive away 1,000 Airavat elephants. How can you measure? Then the boy said, no, I can't measure, sorry, he said. That is what I told at the beginning. Tulsidas said, smilingly. In the beginning itself I told you, Atulita Baladhamam, it cannot be compared. Such is the Hanuman's power. Why I am talking about Hanuman, yesterday was Hanuman's Jayanti. Of course in South India, that is the beauty of India, our Bharat. Our Bharat has got different traditions, different types of beliefs, and different types of, the Panjikas. The Panjikas means the almanacs. So you will find different, like that Yugadi you had on 2nd April. So on 14th April, the new year began for Tamilians on 14th April, not on 2nd April. And Bengalis, for them, New Year began on 15th April. So you find different almanacs we use, different types of computations are done. So we got wide varieties. So with all the varieties, the South India, we have the feeling or we have the belief that Hanumanji was born during summer Margashirsha month. Somewhere Margari, in Tamil we call Margari. So in that month he was born. So it's all right. Whatever month he is born, it doesn't matter for us. We remember Hanumanji every day. So that is not a problem. But then if you want to celebrate Hanuman Jayanti, each state may have, even some people say, 12 years I was in Ranchi. Near Ranchi where I was there, Tupudana, if you go say about 16 kilometers, there is a place. And that place is said to be the birthplace of Hanumanji. And Hanumanji's Dadi, that is his mother's mother, Anjana's mother, used to stay there. So they all praise that Anjana was here. So when a child is going to be born, so a mother will generally go to her mother's place, not to the father's place. So this husband's place. So she will go to the mother's place. So Anjana came all the way from Kishkinda to Jharkhand in her mother's place. And she delivered Hanuman there. So like that the belief is there. So Hanuman's birthplace, now I find so many states are claiming Hanuman's birthplace. So that variety is so wonderful. Because the lot of movement was not there in those days. It was very difficult also. So every state, every culture had its own indigenous way of celebrating the great people. So why I brought this Hanuman's power was such a great Hanumanji. How he became so small before Sri Ram. He understood the power of Sri Ram. Sri Ram's power is so much. Sometimes Sri Ramakrishna makes fun. Very jokingly, he says, Hanuman himself took the name of Sri Ram and jumped over the ocean. But for Sri Ram, he has to make a bridge and then walk over. So Ram's name was such. So some jokes Sri Ramakrishna makes like that. So you can see that type of Hanuman is now just always. Yatra yatra Raghunatha Kirtanam, tatra kritam mastaka anjalim. Mind you, he doesn't stand before Sri Ram like that. When I see some devotees coming into the shrine, they stand like this and look at Sri Ramakrishna. That is not the way to stand before the God. You have to krita mastaka. Put your head down. And then Anjali pose you have to give. Put your two palms together. And if you keep any leaf or flower here, it becomes Anjali. Otherwise it is Namaste. So you have to see that. Krita mastaka Anjali. How Hanuman stands before Sri Ram. Not only Ram is there or not, the name of Ram is taken. Yatra, wherever. Whether in this hall, whether in that prayer hall, whether in your bathroom, wherever you take the name of Sri Ram, tatra, there and there. So Tulsidas has experienced this. So he stays there and he is sitting there. Tatra krita mastaka anjalim. Then Tulsidas adds, Vashpavari paripurna lochanam. What a wonderful words, So in our houses also, we used to do this Nama Ramayanam. From childhood I am hearing, from the age of 5, 6, I am listening to that. Because in our house they used to do, my mother, my sisters, everybody used to sing this. So it is a common prayer for us on Ekadashi days. But then, when I started learning the English translation or in Tamil translation of these words, I was surprised. Because it is written there, Vashpavari Paripurna Lochanam. Now I can understand the eyes are filled with water, vari. This much I can understand. When you are very much happy or when you are very sad, your eyes get full of tears. Is it not? So we say, see that man, he is going to cry now because his eyes are full of tears. You can understand that. Only after started reading Sri Ramakrishna's Gospel, I came to understand what is the meaning of Vashpa, that word that Tulsidas is used. He says the vari, the water in Hanuman's eyes was warm, he says. Vashpa means warm. So I could not understand why the tears should be warm. But Sri Ramakrishna says to one of his direct disciples, to Swami Abhedanandaji. You know, Abhedanandaji's name is there in that stone, in that temple wall. You can see that how Abhedanandaji's name is there. Abhedanandaji had come to this place. So that Abhedanandaji, when he was a young boy under training in Dakshineswar, so one day Sri Ramakrishna told him, look, my boy, his name was Kali. So he said, Kali, there are two types of tears. One is called tears of joy. Another is called tears of sorrow. Two types of tears are there. So tears of joy always come through this, and tears of sorrow comes through this. Of course, I have not tested that. When I had tears, I never tested from where it is coming. But Sri Ramakrishna says, so it must be true only. So he says, tears of joy is always warm water, he says. That he told to Abhedanandaji. Then I understood, 600 years before, our Tulsidas has written at that time, Vashpavari Paripurna Lochanam. That Marutim Namata Rakshasantakam. So we bow down to Maruti. So this, why I brought Hanuman, that humility before Sri Ram is, Sri Ram put a question to him. Simple question. This type of question, great people put to their disciples. You can see in many of the great men's lives, Ramana Maharshi used to ask that Shastri. One Shastri used to come to him. So he used to ask him, hey, what do you think of me? Sri Ramakrishna used to ask this question to Yam, that is Mahendranath Gupta. What do you think of me? On 1st January 1886, we all know that how Sri Ramakrishna asked Mahendranath Gupta, not Mahendranath, So he asked Girish Chandra Ghosh and Ramchandra Dutt, what do you think of me? He said. But Girish Chandra Ghosh was stunned. He never expected this question. So he had to give an answer, so he gave an answer. So you find the great men, they ask their disciples to understand what the impression of the devotee about the Guru. So the Guru asked this. So Ram is Guru and everything to Hanumanji. So Ram asked, what do you think of me? And that answer has become so wonderful answer. Everybody knows this. Knows this small shloka, only 2 lines. But how beautifully Hanumanji expresses his understanding of Sri Ram and the relationship between Sri Ram and him. That is what Sri Ramakrishna says. 3 things you know, your life purpose is done. Who I am, who is me, and what is the relationship between you and me. These 3 things you understand, your life purpose is achieved. That is what Sri Ramchandra asked Hanumanji. Then he says, there are different conditions are there. So Hanumanji is very clear, transparent. So he doesn't want to mince words to Sri Ram. So he says, Deha Buddhya tu dasoham. He says, by Deha Buddhi, Whenever I am feeling I am this body, we have got many occasions to feel that we are body, is it not? Many occasions. Say we take food, we feed the body, we know that we are eating. And if anybody asks, I like this, I don't like this, I am eating, you say that, who is eating? Your body is eating. And you have identified yourself with the body. Likewise, you take bath, any type of physical activity you do, your mind is physical level, it comes down. So Deha Buddhi, it is called. Deha Buddhi when comes, I become your dasa. I become your servant. You are my master, I am your servant. How beautifully he says. And Jiva Buddhya Todamsakaha, he says, when I get Jiva Buddhi, that is, when I feel that I am now the subtle body, the Jiva. Jiva contains of subtle body and Panchapranas. So that, when I think of that, not this physical body, I am no more physical body. When you sit in the shrine and the arati is going on, bhajan is going on, bhajan is over. When you are deeply immersed in the bhajan, can you get up instantly? You can't. Because at that time Jiva Buddhi is there. From Jiva Buddhi you have to come down to Deha Buddhi. Then only you can see and get slowly up. You can't get up just like that after meditation. Because your mind has risen from the Deha Buddhi to Jiva Buddhi. So when I find that Jiva Buddhi is predominant, I know that I am part of you. And then third condition he says, when there's another status is there, another state of mind is there, my mind can rise further. What is that further state of mind? That's the Atma Buddhya. At that time, I am Tvaveva Aham. Myself and you, there is no difference. Hanuman is telling. Hanuman is Paramadasa, you see. Dasanudasa. But he is telling, I and yourself are one. I and my Father are one, Jesus said. Yesterday was Easter, Sunday, Easter day. We thought of Easter Christ also. Because I was in Ireland for 3 years, we used to celebrate the Good Friday. And Easter time used to give lectures at different places. So on Christ and Vedanta. So I and my Father are one, that idea comes. And Hanumanji also said, Tvavevaham. In these 3 positions, and it is not my doubtful idea, mind you. Hanumanji clearly says to Sri Ram, Iti me nishchita matihi. Nishchita mati means opinion. It is my stern, definite opinion. And then in these 3 lines, you find how the whole of Vedanta is put into. If you read the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, go to the volume 3. There one lecture of Swamiji is there, given at Lahore. Now it is in Pakistan. In Lahore on 12th November 1897, he gave a lecture on the Vedanta. That is the title. There are several 2-3 lectures he gave. He gave on Bhakti, etc. But the Vedanta lecture must be read by everyone before you start reading any Vedantic scripture. I would welcome you to go through the scriptures. But if you have not read this lecture and gone into the scripture straight away, there are many misunderstandings will be there in our mind. So Swamiji in Lahore, before 2 audiences were there. This Arya Samaj people were sitting there. And another Samaj people were sitting there. 2 types of audiences. All are Hindus. So Swamiji was speaking to them about the Vedanta. He clearly laments there. Practically he was crying, He says that we have a misunderstanding amongst ourselves about the word Vedanta. What the misunderstanding? The misunderstanding is Vedanta means Advaita. So the Vedanta is not only meaning Advaita, it includes Dvaita and Visishtadvaita also, or other systems of philosophy, Hindu philosophy, everything is put together, a broad name Swamiji allocates for Vedanta. That's why you can be, so before, when I was asked by Nityanandaji to give a talk to the devotees here, I agreed. But then I didn't ask the question to him. So to one of his assistants, I asked, see, Swamiji has asked me to speak, what type of audience in Bangalore? Because I do not know. I have not spoken to you any time. So I asked that assistant Swami, what type of audience you have here? He said, Maharaj, our audience are thoroughly well read of everything. They not only read Vedanta, they know Ramakrishna, Saradama, Swamiji, and everything there, Gita, everything they know. So philosophically, they are all attuned to Vedanta's ideas. That is Advaita. But practically, they are all Dvaitins. Now you can understand how not to speak to them, he said. So that was very funny way of putting it, Philosophically I am Advaitin, but practically I am a Dvaitin. Means that Dvaita and Advaitas are not contrary to each other, but they are complementing each other. That is what Swamiji says in that lecture. That lecture is a great eye-opener for all of us. Because that clearly says, so we say when we go to outside foreign countries, they ask what religion you follow. So we say we are monk of Vedanta. We are Vedantin, we say. So we are Hindus, but Vedantin. So what is that Vedantin? That means we are not a one-sided Hindu. We are such type of Hindu who we accept all types of the tradition of every place. Even the Karaga is going on. I heard about that after coming here. I came to know about Karaga. In Tamil Nadu also there is a Karagatam is there. But here the Karaga is entirely different. 18 lakhs, 20 lakhs people joining, and with that Karaga they come. And what a beautiful thing. I saw some photographs. So I was really moved by that. And that also comes under Hinduism, mind you. And that also comes under the broad level Vedanta. So Vedanta is not only Advaita. So Dvaita is there, Vishishtadvaita, and even Nimbarka's philosophy is there, Chaitanya's philosophy is there. Any saint who have come in this holy land and propounded some philosophy, something, and they all come under that one label, that Vedanta. So when you say Vedantin, you can be followers in your private life, anything. That's why even till day, from my birth, I am putting Vibhuti, because that was the system I was brought in. If I had put nice, some of the Vaishnavas, they put that tilak. Yes, I welcome that. I see some of the Vaishnavas. Recently I went to a devotee's house for some tea, and all the ladies, they had put that long one. So I could understand they are all Vaishnavas. So whatever culture you are born into, why should you be away with that? You have that. In Bengal, if you go, the Shaktas, there are Shaktas are there who believe in Mother Kali's worship, Durga worship. They put that kumkum, red kumkum they put, or red chandan they put. So anything. So whatever be there, the Vedanta is such a wide-angled label, taking every aspect of our Hindu culture. And that is why the Vedantic devotion gains importance with us. Why? Because the devotion that we are going to practice, the devotion, the very ordinary translation in Sanskrit or in our vernacular languages is bhakti. So we all understand what is bhakti. But bhakti is also has got many types of definitions. Think of the definitions bhakti is given by various acharyas. Ramanujacharya gives one definition. The great sage Narada gives one definition. If you see the definitions of bhakti, we can go on, page after page. So many types of definitions are there. But all definitions are true according to the nature of the personality of the individual. When you reach that state, you will find this statement applies to me. Today, the definition of Chaitanya Deva may apply to you. But after a few days, or a few years of your austerities, tapasya, your sadhana, etc., you have grown up or you have changed. At that time, some others, say Shankara's definition of bhakti, it may be appealing to you. So which definition appeals to you depends upon, there is no contradiction, mind you. Don't fight on this. That's what Vivekananda says. Instead of that, understand each person comes from a particular level. So the Acharya's duty is to pick up that person from that level to higher levels. That is what Vivekananda did. I always say why we should read Vivekananda. It is only because for this very reason alone we should read Vivekananda. When you read Vivekananda, you understand which position you are in, and you will be able to move up from that position, because Vivekananda extends his helping hand to you. You hold Vivekananda's hand and start walking. He is the big brother for us. If Ramakrishna is my father, if Mother Sarada is my mother, Swamiji is my eldest brother. So I hold his hand. That means I read Vivekananda. So when you read Vivekananda, he actually takes you step by step. And that is that extraordinary way of putting these ideas into English, which was not there earlier. You see, there may be very good books in our vernaculars, no doubt about that, in Kannada language, Tamil, Hindi, in Odisha, every language has got good books are there. But if you have picked up English, if you can speak English, understand English, then it is incumbent upon you to read Vivekananda first. Many ideas that you have been hearing from your grandmother, you will get clarified by reading Vivekananda. I have also found many good ideas. From childhood onwards I am hearing, but I don't know the meaning. But after reading Vivekananda, the mind opens up. So that's why Vivekananda must be read. So Vivekananda speaks of Vedanta in a new positive way, not to reject any type of philosophy. And there is no contradiction, no question, no fighting with any type. Can you imagine this? Absolutely taking every type of ideas, not only within India. You go to Nepal, you go to Myanmar, and then you go to Bangkok in Southeastern Asia, or you go to the West. Wherever you go, whatever types of ideas are there, you can bring it under that big label Vedanta. This type of extraordinary way of looking at it is only making us thrive in foreign countries. There are many people who went from India to preach Hindu religion, and many have failed also. They have come back. They could not stand. And only the Ramakrishna mission is thriving. How many centers are still waiting to be affiliated with the Belur Mutt in Western countries? So many, because the people, Westerners understand, sometimes better than us. They come to India and look at the variety of the culture, they are simply dumbfounded. What is this? Such a wide variety, but all of them are together. Our organization itself is like that. From almost every state of India, we have monks. So we come together, we sit together, talk together, eat together. We interact with each other. And we understand, oh, he is from that state, so that peculiarity of that state is with him. So if you meet me and then you find some peculiarity, you should understand, because from that state that I am coming, and that peculiarity will be there. So like that, and we coexist. And that is what Swamiji wanted. This small organization he started, it has become so big. More than 210 centers in the world. Can you imagine such a small center? Started at Belur Mutt. Has grown so big. Now we ourselves sometimes do not know many Swamis. So many Swamis have become. Recently I was there in Belur Mutt undertaking some 3 months medical rest, because in Ireland I fell down and broke my neck femur bone. So after the operation they told me to have 3 months rest. So I thought best place to rest is Belur Mutt. So I came. Unfortunately 2 months the corona rules were applied. So even I could not go out of my room to have darshan of the temple also, because they have closed everything. So what to do? 2 months I was in the room only. So, but I had very good rest. So at that time in Belur Mutt, I saw so many Swamis coming, because Swami Sannyasa ceremony was there. For that, many Swamis from all over India, 46 young brahmacharis came for sannyasa. Each one came and met me in Arogya Bhavan, and I could see them. Each one is so different, bubbling with energy. And this organization is growing day by day or year by year. If you can take sannyasa ceremony, is given once in a year. So growing year by year. So you can see that type of, because we belong to that Vedanta of Swami Vivekananda, people accept us. When you come to Ireland or go to Singapore or go to Western countries, anywhere, even in Europe, Germany or Geneva, anywhere, you can see how people talk to you. And the moment they hear, in Ireland of course there's a special feeling of Irish people, there's a very good affinity with India. You know that Indian constitution preamble was taken from the Irish constitution as a model. So Ireland has got a lot of, and biggest connection with our tradition is Ireland gave a daughter, wonderful daughter, to India. And Swamiji brought her to India. He gave the name Nivedita, that Margaret Elizabeth. She came from Ireland, and she is the daughter of Ireland, was donated, gifted by Ireland to India. That is the greatest gift, I tell the Irish people. What you can give us to us, more than Nivedita? And who did so much for us? What type of Vedanta she practiced? What type of Vedanta the Westerners who come to Ramakrishna Mission practice? Or what type of Vedanta Sri Ramakrishna himself practiced? It's very curious to see that. And what type of Vedanta Swamiji himself practiced? He says Atman is the only thing I recognize, Swamiji says in one lecture. But then when he goes to see Holy Mother, he takes Ganges water and sprinkling on his head. What type of Vedanta? You question this. So in our tradition, our direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, Abhedananji and whoever has been there, 16 disciples. You can see each one. That's why Swamiji wrote the first rule for the monks. Preach the Vedanta all over the land. The Vedanta as preached and as practiced by Sri Ramakrishna. So the exact word is as propounded and practiced by Sri Ramakrishna. That's what Swamiji says. So no other type of Vedanta we cannot preach. We preach that type of Vedanta as propounded by Sri Ramakrishna and practiced by Sri Ramakrishna, which is very apt for the modern world. And that Vedanta is so huge. And this Vedanta, I want to speak to you about bhakti. I have not started the topic, mind you. I am only giving introduction. Today, as I told you, is part 1. So I will deal on the details of the bhakti in part 2 next week. But the thing is, it's very curious to see that. So Swamiji's Vedanta, if you have an idea, and what type of Vedanta he practiced and his brother disciples practiced, those things also we must come to know. And those great Swamis who were here, from Tyagishananji's time onwards, if you think, Swami Ranganathananji, and even of late, Swami Harshananji, what type of Vedanta they practiced. If you don't find any interest in those things, what type of Vedanta you will practice? You say that I have been initiated in Ramakrishna Mission tradition, so I am a Vedantin. Proudly you can say that. But what type of Vedanta you are having? If you say a particular Vedanta, then you are identifying yourself with a particular label within Vedanta. So that is what we want to know. Exactly what is that? So the bhakti, as I told you, the definition of bhakti given by Chaitanya and to Vamadeva and to go to Shankaracharya, find so much of differences there. Not all the definitions are one and the same. Everybody is telling the same thing. No. There is different types of tendencies for that difference. It suits. So, those definitions, if you know little, and then we see that how this bhakti can be transformed in our lives, so that we can be grateful to Sri Ramakrishna, who opened our eyes. Everybody doesn't come to our ashram. Why? Because they are not yet ready. But once you come into the fold of Sri Ramakrishna, I used to say our devotees, you are within the orbit of Sri Ramakrishna. You may be a Shaivate, you may be Vaishnavate, Shaktate, or even Kaumara follower, or even Surya follower, doesn't matter, or Ganapati, doesn't matter. Any systems of philosophy you can have. But once you come into Sri Ramakrishna's grasp, then you are within that orbit. You are now moving within the circumference of Sri Ramakrishna that has given you. You cannot go out of that. Some people try to jump the circle, but then later, after 20 years, 30 years, they come back. Then they say, oh Swamiji, I made a mistake by leaving at that time. I said, nothing is lost. Now you have come back, so be here now, within this circumference. So this is how we have to think of the Vedantic devotion, that the Vedantic devotion, how it is to be practiced in our lives. So with these few words, I will request you to come again next week, and please all of you join our Arati at this time. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Swami Nityanandaji would be telling us some few words.
Till now, you are all listening to a very inspiring, enlightening speech, suffused with great devotion. On behalf of you and also on behalf of the ashrama, I profusely thank Maharaj for such a beautiful talk, uncomparable talk, Atulita walk. I am very, very happy, really happy. Thank you so much. Thank you all.